What does it mean to be family when the one who denies you needs you most? Lila stood in the dim glow of the hospital waiting room, her fingers tracing the edge of a worn-out chair. At 25, she had spent her life weaving herself into the fabric of the Carter family, adopted at age 3 after a childhood blurred by foster homes. She wasn't born a Carter, but she had earned her place here, so she thought. The sting of her sister Emily's words from years ago still burned. You're not really family, Lila. You're just here. Emily, the golden child, 6 years older, had always kept Lila at arm's length, her love conditional, her acceptance fleeting. Yet here Lila was, clutching a medical form, her heart racing as she faced a choice that could redefine everything. Growing up, Lila had idolized Emily. She mimicked her laugh, her style, even the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. But Emily's resentment grew with every shared holiday, every family photo where Lila stood a little too close. You don't belong, Emily would whisper when their parents weren't listening, her words sharp as glass. Lila learned to swallow the hurt, to smile through the rejection, to prove her worth through quiet acts of loyalty. She helped with homework, covered for Emily's teenage rebellions, and stayed silent when Emily took credit for her ideas. But the wound never healed, only deepened with time. Now, Emily sat across the hospital room, her face pale and tear-streaked, cradling her newborn son, Noah. The baby, barely a month old, was fighting a rare blood disorder, his tiny body dependent on a bone marrow transplant. The Carters had been tested parents, cousins, Emily herself, but none were a match. None, except Lila. The irony was cruel. The sister who had called her an outsider was now begging for her help. Lila, please, Emily had whispered over the phone, her voice breaking. You're his only chance. Lila's mind churned as she stared at the consent form. The procedure wasn't simple. It carried risks: pain, recovery, complications. She thought of the years spent trying to belong, the nights she cried herself to sleep after Emily's cold dismissals. She remembered the family reunion when Emily introduced her as the adopted one. The laughter that followed cutting deeper than any knife. Why should she risk herself for someone who never saw her as family? Yet, as she glanced at Noah's fragile form, his tiny chest rising and falling, something in her shifted. He was innocent, a life caught in the crossfire of old wounds. The hospital clock ticked loudly, each second a reminder of the choice at hand. Lila's parents, sitting nearby, were silent, their eyes pleading. They had always loved her, but they never challenged Emily's cruelty, hoping time would mend a rift. Lila wanted to scream, to demand why they hadn't defended her, why they let Emily's words fester. But she also saw their exhaustion, their fear for Noah. She saw Emily, no longer the untouchable older sister but a desperate mother, her arrogance stripped away by love for her child. Lila closed her eyes, memories flooding back. She recalled the day she was adopted, the warmth of her mother's arms, the promise of a forever home. She thought of the small ways she'd built her life, her job helping foster kids, her late-night talks with friends who became her chosen family. She didn't need Emily's approval to know her worth, but she also knew she couldn't let Noah pay for Emily's mistakes. Family, she realized, wasn't about blood or acceptance, it was about choosing to show up, even when it hurt. Lila, Emily's voice broke through, soft and raw. I'm sorry. I was wrong. You've always been family. I was scared of losing what I had. It was the first apology in years, and though it couldn't erase the past, it cracked something open in Lila's heart. She looked at Emily, then at Noah, and signed the form. I'll do it, she said, her voice steady despite the tears. Not for you, but for him. The procedure was grueling, but Lila endured it, her thoughts on Noah's future she was giving him. Weeks later, when the transplant showed signs of success, Emily planned to visit, hugged Lila tightly, her gratitude unspoken but clear. Lila felt a weight lift, not because Emily had changed, but because she had chosen to rise above the pain. She wasn't just the adopted sister anymore. She was the one who chose love over resentment, who proved family was more than words, it was action. As Lila left the hospital, the sun breaking through the clouds, she felt lighter. She wasn't defined by Emily's rejection or the Carter name. She was Lila, whole and enough, and that was the family she carried within her.